And we are live, everyone.
All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to David T. Howard's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda that has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call the meeting of the Go Team to order at 4:34. First order of business is roll call. Ms. Baker, will you please take the roll?
I will. Dr. Maxwell,
Present.
Mr. Abernathy,
Present.
Wendy Baker is here. Tanisha Poe,
Present.
Chelsea Schultz,
Present.
Jennifer Keenan,
Present.
Angela Lewis,
Present.
Janine Walker, Curtis Carmichael, Vincent Jones.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. This team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Ms. Baker, do we have a quorum?
I believe that we do, yes.
All right. Next item, our order of business is to approve the agenda.
Ms. Poe, I know you're the host, but can you get it where I can share the screen? Sorry, can you open that up?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry about that. I thought I unclicked that for you. I'm sorry. You should be able to share now.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
This is Vincent, I second.
All right. Motion by Ms. Baker, second by Mr. Jones. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passed. Next order of business is to approve the previous minutes, be the minutes from the December meeting that was emailed to you by Ms. Baker.
Jennifer, I move to approve the minutes.
This is Tanisha Poe. I moved the second, or did I just go out of turn? I'm sorry.
Totally fine, totally fine. All right, motion to approve by Ms. Keenan, seconded by Ms. Poe. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? All right, we'll be moving on to the discussion items. First item on the list is the budget. I don't remember seeing Ms. Beatles get on.
Yeah, Miss Beatles isn't here. I mean, I think all she was going to do, but we're at about our budget, and you remember the budget is, you take away the personnel, but the non-personnel items, and I mean, substitutes are kind of personnel, but substitutes and supplies, but we should be at, right now for the start of second semester, about at 50%, but we actually have about 70% of our budget. And a lot of that has to do with that we don't have we don't have to use very many substitutes, and we've gotten a lot of funding. We've got funding from the foundation, the PTO. So this is really good, and we wanted to see that because once we go into that February 1st, we may need some plexiglass in this room, even though we've gotten plexiglass, but we just might need some items that we just didn't think of. And so that gives us an opportunity to purchase some of those items. So that's basically the budget. And I think Miss Beatles is driving home. She was a little bit nervous. I'm at school and they're actually shutting down the Wi-Fi And I'm on my hotspot, so I'm good, but she didn't, so she left. So that's why I'm still here. And she couldn't make it.
Okay.
Dr. Maxwell, I have a question about additional items that might need to be purchased. Has the school received new cameras or additional cameras and microphones that teachers would need in order to do the simultaneous teaching of in-person and remote?
Yeah, we actually have headphones that are right here, that are really nice. Like the ones that we got, Miss Beatles actually, they have a cord to them, and so that is a little bit of an issue. But other than that, it's a long cord, but it's a nice headphone, and it's a great way as far as to amplify their voice behind their mask, because they'll have their mask on, and that makes me a little bit nervous because, and I've actually looking at some research about what happens with teaching and learning when a teacher puts a mask on. So we did get that. We also got cameras where we could put that on the smart board, because actually the smart board does not have the box lights. They do not have a camera to them. So we were able to purchase those that we could put a camera where it you put it on the box light and it faces the classroom.
Great.
All right, Ms. Poe, do you want to say anything else about that? Am I right on both of them? I mean, I think I'm right, but is there anything you want to add, or anything I said that was not right?
No, you're absolutely right. That is exactly what we're doing, because we do want to amplify the voices as much as we can, and to make sure that our students can see exactly what's going on. Because since the teachers are in the building, maybe they want to write on their board because they have a bigger space to work out a problem or something along those lines.
But I do think it's important for the public to know that we are not really teaching like in a hybrid way, because the kids that will be possibly in our classrooms, we might not have on our class load. So they'll be attending their own Zooms. So we'll be sitting at our desk teaching our classes while the kids in our room are going to other classes.
Correct. And I think I agree with you, Ms. Baker. I think that's really important for people to know, because I think people think school was going to be like school was before, and
Yeah.
school is not going to look like school was before for a long time.
And I think Ms. Kennedy brought that up last meeting as far as making that known to a lot of the parents as well.
Yeah. And so
I'm more anticipating fourth quarter, hopefully, maybe.
yeah, I mean, I think fourth quarter vaccinations, like, I mean, who said it? Yeah, for sure. But this piece, this headphone right here is so important right now, whether I'm teaching from a board or teaching from a computer, because you're going to have that mask. And there is, I just had it's from the NCBI. There's a new study about how they're seeing learning decrease when you put a mask on. And so that's really concerning. It's one of the reasons why we wanted to start out slowly, because what we didn't want to do is to change a teacher with about 70 days left and then put a mask on this new teacher, right? And so, I mean, I think amplifying, it's a really good headphone, and I think Ms. Beatles and I think Ms. Poe is a part of it, did a really good job of picking that. And I think that'll be helpful as teachers start wearing masks.
I agree. And Dr. Maxwell, it's funny you said that about the mask part, because even when we were in the building for TIP with the kids, you feel like you're not even connecting with them, because you can't see if they're smiling at you. You can't see if they're, like it's different, even as the teacher with the kids with the mask.
Yeah. It gets definitely some getting used to.
Just one more question. I've seen some clear masks. Would those be an option for teachers?
So we're working on that. We're looking at that, Ms. Beatles. The situation right now is, and again, it's changing sometimes by the day, is that because it's all about those droplets. And so is that like a mask that is going to be the proper mask that we should use? I mean, like the official mask. And so I'm actually at the meeting on Friday, we're having a principals meeting. I'm going to ask Dr. Lovett about that. And so I mean, some of you may know the CD, somebody from the CDC, so you can talk about that, because I think once you have a transparent mask, that's what you want to buy, because you want the kids to be able to see the teacher's mouth, because a lot of teaching and learning, like Ms. Poe said, not when you're even kidding around, but they talked about in this research, if you're sarcastic a little bit because you're trying to kid around with a kid, they don't even know how to take it. Like, are you being mean? Are you not? Like those kind of things, you really forget about how much you use the mouth when you are building those relationships. So a transparent mask is something that we would want to try to do, as long as it's safe. For both student and teacher, actually. So.
All right, anything else on the budget? All right, next item is the TIP program with Miss Allen.
I think Miss Allen.
Hey guys,
Hey, Miss Allen.
how are you? I'm looking, okay. So we ran 2 versions of TIP during December. There was one version which was an after school part, and it was for 2 hours, 2 days, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 4 to 6 p.m. The students would log in, they were invited, and they would complete assignments. It was pretty helpful because a lot of these students, may have missed a lot of classes and content they really did not know what to do. And so to have a very intimate setting where that teacher just waited for them to come in, and they were able to, since it was a grade level teacher, they often knew many of the assignments that the students should have been working on. And so they would name assignments. They would allow that student, because the students got to roll in. Like, it's not like all 20 of them came in at 4 o'clock exactly. Sometimes some were there at 4 exactly, 4:35, and then, staying as long as they needed to stay. But that teacher would open up their Infinite Campus with them. They'd look at the missing assignments, they'd name them, and then they'd work together with the students to identify what was that assignment that they wanted to first get started on. And they work with them to complete that actual assignment and then submit it in real time to the teacher. So that was the after school program. And then the in-school TIP version, that was the students coming into the building. In that case, it was really just kind of providing more of a learning environment for the students to come in, to sit. There was the lunch and the breakfast provided for them to complete their assignments. And I will say that there were teachers who said that the first time that the students who came into the building, that was some of the first times that they had actually seen the student, because the student had not come all semester long. So I see the question is, how do we expand TIP, right? So, well, I guess I'll pause before the expanding and just seeing if there were any questions that you had, or even comments.
This is Mrs. Baker. I have a question. As one of the teachers who is there one day a week, I was just wondering what were numbers like? Because my room was very scantily attended, but I did see kids going to other rooms. So of all the children you guys reached out to, how many whose
40?
parents, how many actually came?
The number. So we are, because we were told that it could only be 7 students altogether, 7 students in a room at one time. Our numbers was like 56 was the max that we could take. And we had about, on the very first day, 26 show up. And then they did slowly start to decline. And honestly, half of it was some students were getting COVID and they could not actually come back. And so maybe we ended with maybe 15 coming, but between the first number of 24 to 15, it would be different students who maybe came the second day versus the first day. And there were just some families who were promising that they were coming, but they did not get on the bus, or they did not actually drop them off for us. But we did make contact with all of the 56 families that we invited. We called them 2 to maybe 3 times to confirm that they would actually be in attendance.
Thank you.
And that day that they missed, they all received a call again when they missed on that very first day, and they said that they would be showing up. But again, it was an inconsistent thing.
Ms. Allen, so a couple of questions that I want to make sure that you convey is I really think there was a third way that we were working with those students, the students that were falling behind. And that was with 7th grade. Actually, you kind of did a pilot program with a mentor-mentee. Can you just talk a couple minutes about that? Because I think that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, so when we, in 7th grade, we were talking about just strategies of intervening on these kids' behalf, like what did these kids need? And we had come to the conclusion that the students just needed an adult that was checking on them. They were like, they just, it feels like a sea of abyss. It really does. Like, who's calling to check on me? Like if my mom is working, or has like the 3rd shift, and she goes to sleep when I'm working, when I have to do my classwork, I log in when I want to. And then the teachers are sometimes a little overwhelmed between like class 1 to class 2 and having to connect with all of those kids virtually, that sometimes that they're not always able to connect with all the kids. So in 7th grade, we asked the question, like, well, what else do you think that we could do? And they said, someone that held them accountable. And in 7th grade, we took on a mentoring program where every teacher, and Mr. Coach Abernathy is actually a part of it. And so we have additional 5 connection teachers who support the 7th grade team. And everyone has 1 to 2 students, and they call weekly. They call either on Wednesdays or Fridays. And I send weekly reminders every week saying, hey guys, don't forget, please make sure to connect with your mentee. Let them, and I've run down a list of a couple of things you could do. Check on the last bit of assignments that they were working on. Ask them how they're doing. That's what we want to be able to do. I actually also have 2 students, and I know just like the teachers, what they get. So one student has been very successful with. She was a student who was coming tipping the building. So I would go and find her. And on Wednesdays at like 10 o'clock, I would go sit down with her for a couple of minutes. And I'm like, all right, tell me what's going on. I mean, she had a pretty low average in all of her core classes. And, it definitely was that lack of accountability from someone at home. Her mom cared because I talked to her mom a couple of times, but mom just really knowing how to ensure that when the student's saying she's at the computer completing work, that's what's happening. Mom just didn't know how to get a handle on that or call her out on it. And so for me, because I feel like I have more of understanding kind of these holes that students take advantage of, I was able to call her out on that, so letting So I met with her then. I met with her like another week. And then when we came back, I told all the teachers again, give your mentees a call. And when I called mine, she was like, I completed so much work over the break. She was like, I completed like 8 assignments a day. I've submitted them all. And so I felt like it made a big difference that I was checking on her multiple times before we went out on break. And literally the first day that she got back, or it was probably the second day, that I had another 8-minute call with her. And so I look forward to giving her a call this Wednesday. So, but one student, I can tell you one student, while I have to find her, I have to go into her Zoom class. Because I have like 8 numbers to give a call and nobody ever answers any number. Half of them are disconnected. And so I've got a hold of her through running into one of her Zoom classes. But then the next time if she doesn't show up to class, then I don't get a hold of her in Zoom. And so I know the teachers, I wanted to kind of speak on their behalf, like they deal with the same thing. Like there's some of their mentees they can call, the parents are answering, but then some of the other ones, it's just grasping at straws if no one's answering calls or if you don't go into your Zoom class. So, but I do feel like, and the teachers will tell you, and coach, you can jump in if you've been able to get any contact with any of your mentees, but the teachers have said they felt like it made a difference. Those kids that were never showing up to office hours started showing up to office hours. They were submitting in some work. They felt like they knew what to do. So that's a piece of another intervention that happened in 7th grade.
And Ms. Allen, the last question that I have is, you know, the end of the 9 weeks is actually, or the end of the semester is January 15th. I know we talked about this a little bit. So I think the Go team would like to see some data too. We want to see the data, maybe from all 3 of those. You know, is that something that we can do? And I was just thinking after the grades are posted, because you have that spreadsheet with their data before all of these interventions, but then to see, you know, their final grade and to see like if, you know, what kind of difference, you know, has it made? Can we do something like that?
Yeah, we can definitely pull some data because we have marked and we have a list of all of the students who were, whether it's tip after school, tip in the building, or in the 7th grade, having a mentor.
Okay.
I have
Any
a
other
question.
questions for Ms. Allen? Okay, go ahead.
What is the policy? I understand teachers have to, you know, grade the work and do that, but I do have, just personally, I have a couple teachers that if they miss an assignment or it's even a day late, and I've got 3 teenage boys, but they won't let them do it again. Is that our policy? Because that it doesn't seem.
So I would probably say yes, that is the policy about well, we have a late work policy that students can receive a 10-point deduction for submitting in work late. So I would say they most likely can. And then I think sometimes if the teacher has given the answer in class, then that would be maybe an assignment that they would not allow the student to make up. But if it's just a classwork that the kid didn't turn in, again, they have up to 10 days and a 10-point penalty to submit that assignment. But there are deadlines, so within a window. So we're hitting into what is 13.5, 18. Okay, so we're hitting the semester 1 final grade, which is the 18 weeks. Well, there was a 13.5 progress report, and we accepted all of the late work up and through, I think it was close to like November 26th, around November 20th for that deadline. And so now the things that they can submit late are only things that are about after November 26th, and they had through January 6th to submit those assignments. So we give windows of time that students can submit late work. So I don't know if, but in your example, it sounds like you said it was just one day and the student was not allowed to submit it late.
Yeah, so I maybe talk to you offline. I just wanted to know what the policy was.
Yeah, definitely reach out to me and I can look into the specific context of the situation.
Okay, thank you.
I think what I've seen is sometimes the missing assignment isn't graded within the 10-day period. So, so then they're outside of the 10-day period. But there was one particular situation where I reached out to a teacher. One of my kids had some problem on an assignment. It was long past the 10-day. But I just talked to her and the teacher was excellent. She had already given the answer. So she basically created another assignment for my daughter to retake. It was math. So she just had to change the numbers. But, you know, of course, I was so appreciative that she did that. But again, there was kind of a special circumstance where we were outside the 10-day window and the teacher was really great in working with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an exception there. We asked them to be a little consistent. So in regards to getting a grade back, as long as the student submits that assignment back, then within the 10 days, then the teacher may grade it outside, but just because the teachers graded it outside, they should still, you know, grade it as long as the student's action was within those 10 days.
Okay. And so the other part of this is, how do we expand TIP?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, we as in the chair and the vice chair. So Coach Abernathy and Ms. Keenan and I spoke Friday about, how could we expand TIP? And Ms. Keenan, talked to actually a Go Team member from Sutton about something that they do. Ms. Keenan, would you want to share that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, one of our school priorities is ensure students who need additional time and support to demonstrate mastery on essential standards are afforded additional time, support, and resources. So I was just looking for ways that other schools have been achieving that or working on that. So Sutton has a Saturday Academy that I believe is in its 3rd year now. And the Saturday Academy is targeted to at-risk kids, kids who are falling through the cracks. And she said it's been a tremendous success. They had received some funding sources for the first 2 years, and basically by the 3rd year, they were able to self-fund it through really the PTO and fundraising. But something like that, a Saturday Academy, which would be implemented in August for next school year. Obviously, we couldn't do anything like that during COVID. Something like that may be a way to expand the TIP program and the extra resources that you're finding that work, and help us get further along in that priority in our strategic plan. So one of the things I was thinking about was that, and we can build upon the work that was done last year related to the mentoring program, having community members as mentors, because I think that could all be folded in. The Saturday Academy could be certainly meals, breakfast and lunch. There could be additional educational support for teachers, but then there could be additional mentoring support. Really, it seems like it'd be perhaps a great way to touch on all of the strategies that we know that are effective in helping these underserved kids. So what I was thinking was that we could form a subcommittee or a task force to investigate this. And, the first step would be to just piggyback off of what Sutton, get all of their information, and learn about what they did, how they did it, how they paid for it, all the logistics. But it may be that we could almost just take their program and run with it. I mean, they've obviously had to do a lot of work to get it up and running. And the fact that it's been going for 3 years, they've worked out a lot of the kinks as well. So
Right.
it may be that we could really implement this quickly because we could benefit from all the work that they have done.
Yeah. And Ms. Schultz, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you have, worked on that, and it kind of fell by the wayside because of funding, but I feel like what they're doing, and I don't know all about it. I just know actually just a little bit about it, but what we were doing are those, I think, Tuesday and Thursday evenings. I know Ms. Pelekia started that. And so is that something too that maybe we could, reach back out to maybe some of those sponsors, I think, that helped in the past, but anything that you know about that?
Because Mr. Childs was actually with Mental Fitness, partnered with Ms. Pelekia on that. So we didn't actually end up doing it that following year, my year. Unfortunately, there wasn't as much buy-in as we needed, but ultimately what it came down to was transportation. That was the big thing, is having transportation home from this program. Food was covered, normally they ordered pizza. So that was covered, but the transportation was big, and also making sure that there was teacher buy-in, because it did create an extra step for teachers to make sure that they had the work ready for the students. And so, that was 3 years ago. So we were less on Google Classrooms, I think, than we are now.
Right.
So I do think that, there could be some tweaks there. But I do remember transportation was the big hiccup, the big area where we would need to just be tight around that.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Schultz.
Yeah.
So what would be our next step with the task force, or is it something that we need to, is there something that we need to do right now, or vote on anything, or just, I mean, I don't think vote on anything, but maybe just create this task force. I don't know, Ms. Keenan or Coach Abernathy, I just don't know what the next steps maybe should be.
So when we had talked previously about the subcommittee, that's what brought up the question for me for merging the FELT and the Family Engagement Committee, because it sounds like the subcommittee that we need this would be kind of the same. So unless we want to call it something different, I think that committee could help with a lot of the groundwork, along with some of the faculty and staff, on trying to find ways to implement this program. So was there any other ideas on that?
Well, I'm having a call. I've set up a call with a FELT member at another school. Actually, she's at Harper Archer Elementary. And I wanted to get some best practices from her. And I've reached out to a few other FELT members at other schools as well. I think what I'd like to do is report back. Because I'd really like to hear how their FELT works, what they've been doing. And Miss Antone and I have been exchanging messages about setting up a FELT meeting after I'm able to talk to these people. One of my calls is set up for tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, what I recommend is let me get a little more information on FELT, and then we can decide if FELT is the right entity to research a Saturday academy and figure out the logistics behind it, so that then we can decide if, it would be the leadership, Dr. and the administration would decide if it could be implemented. But as far as just doing the research, we can have a task force do it, or maybe FELT. I guess what I thought is a separate task force that's just dedicated to that, researching the Saturday Academy and learning, all the steps that would be needed to implement it is pretty narrowly focused. And FELT is much broader of how to communicate and engage with the entire school community.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying with the difference between FELT and what the Family Engagement Committee was doing. Because that's kind of what we were doing as far as with the mentor and finding programs that we can put together to help those underserved students. That's kind of what you're saying. So now that we've merged it together,
but I think FELT is different. I think the Family Engagement Committee last year wasn't doing family engagement. They had expanded the scope of what they were doing pretty dramatically. Starting a mentor program to me is different than family engagement. So in a way, FELT is now narrowing the focus, just focus on family engagement. And then we have the task force build upon the mentor program. I guess that's what I'm saying. I view the mentor program and family engagement as two separate things.
Okay. So the main thing, I guess, for the administrators would be, as far as determining the funding, because I know with transportation and a lot of the logistical things, we would need their input on that, even with the task force.
I guess what I envision is the task force, preparing a 2-page document saying, this is the step-by-step plan for implementing a Saturday Academy. And yes, it would have, this is the minimum number of students you need to have involved. This is how transportation would work. This is the funding. These are the mix of teachers that you would need in order to have a successful program. We present a very detailed plan probably mostly piggybacking off of what Sutton has done, but then working with some key members, probably Ms. Schultz in particular, since she's had experience in this, tweaking the Sutton plan. And then we can just present it and say, okay, we've done the research, we've figured out how to do it. Now the leadership can tell us, can we do it? Should we do it?
Yeah.
There's 3 issues. How do you do it? Can you do it? Should you do it? And the task force can answer that first question. How do you do it?
Yeah. I like that idea. But you still want to talk to a couple of those felt members and then come back February and then maybe just create the task force?
Yes.
Okay. That's great.
So this is Mrs. Baker. I just want to ask a question. Are we talking about this program to kick off next year, 21-22?
Yes, I think the Saturday program would be for next year. Another thing to consider.
Correct. 21-22 in August.
Yes. A second issue, though, is how to take the current tip and implement it for the rest of this school year. With all the things changing.
Yeah. And so we're working on that, especially from the after school. And we're ending this semester. And I think a part of that too, when I talk about the budget, is that we feel like we have some money, that we're not at 50%, we're at that 70%, we're in good shape. But just to get us into the building to see if we need anything else. And then we could start using that money to pay teachers after school for the mentoring, at least at 4 to 6. So
this is Mrs. Baker again.
Yeah.
Earlier, there had been a survey that came out that asked if teachers were willing to help out on a Saturday or after school or whatnot. Have we just dropped the Saturday? Because I actually said I'd come on a Saturday morning for a few hours, but I haven't ever heard back again.
It
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms.
It was just a tiered multiple options, kind of seeing like what options we were going to offer, such in case we were to offer a Saturday. Right now, that 4 to 6, I would say, was working, and we weren't in the building yet. And so we can go back if we think that that's where we'll get a bigger bang for our buck, is Saturday. But the 4 to 6 so far had been working, so we didn't yet feel the need for both yet.
But I think that's a great question, Ms. Baker. And then we have transportation. And so I think just those weekdays just seem to, Saturday, the 4 to 6 was virtual. So Saturday, I guess it still could be virtual, actually, if we wanted to do that. But Saturday, if we bring those kids in, we have to look at transportation. There's just some different items that we'd have to work out. That would be the only thing. So, but I'm really interested in I'm sorry, Ms. Baker, go ahead.
No, I'm trying to, get my notes down. So when I reread them, I'm like, now that doesn't make sense. So are we talking about interventions that are going to be virtual or live, or we don't know?
So hopefully next fall it would be live, but I'm sure Ms. Keenan, for Sutton these Saturdays, are they virtual now, or do they bring the kids in?
I'm not sure what they're doing right now, but my thought would be, when we go,
bring them in.
When Howard goes in person, Saturday Academy would be in person. So yeah, hopefully by August, that's what we will have. And honestly, we're not, even if we went back in person March 1st, we're not going to have Saturday Academy set up on March 1st. It's takes a while to figure out all these pieces. Yeah. But what I'm hoping is that if we take these next several months and figure all of this out, and it makes sense, and we find the funding, and Dr. Maxwell says, yes, let's do it. If we've done all the work ahead of time, hopefully it could be up and running 2 weeks after he says yes.
Right.
Because we will have figured everything out. So that's kind of my goal. Like I said, to figure out the how you do it, try to answer every question, all the details. And Ms. Baker, to your point, I think the teacher survey would be part of that too, because it's not going to do any good if we figure out everything and one teacher wants to do it. But that would be part of our research is also determining, you know, making sure that there's a threshold number of teachers who can help support it too. But I love the idea of community members, you know, the mentors that were
Yeah, I feel like we could get a lot of people from the community.
Yeah.
That's what we did at Hotel. We called them academic mentors, and we put them through a very short training of just how to interact with kids. But that was successful there. We had about 80 of them that would come in and read with students. But
wow,
math, it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Academic mentor.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion on TIP?
So the next thing is information items.
Yeah, and information
Oh,
items, the
good.
next reopening model.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to get to that data. Okay, so the dates are the same, and I talked about this last time. So January 19th, January 18th is MLK Day. January 19th, this is when the teachers come in, so all staff, and then January 25th is where low incidence comes in. Autism and our MI.
They just shut off your Wi-Fi, Dr. Maxwell. We can't hear you.
I mean, well, I just don't think I have Wi-Fi. I think it's just the hotspot right now. I think that's the problem. Am I okay now?
It's still choppy a little bit, still choppy.
Dr. Maxwell, turn off your camera. I learned that today. It can't do both. So if you turn off your camera, your volume might have enough to go through.
How is this?
Oh, a lot better.
Much better.
Miss Poe, you're a superstar. That's great. Okay, so the dates, February 1st, sixth grade starts back. 7th and 8th, or 6th, 7th, and 8th would be February the 4th. And so our numbers right now, we have 435 students that are coming back, 175 in 6th grade, 114 in 7th grade, and 146 in 8th grade. I was thinking about the difference in the new building. If we were at Inman, how many 8th graders would want to come back to the building at Inman into the trailers? Probably not even, probably less than 100. But yeah, it's a new building, which I understand. And I want all the 8th graders to be there in the 4th quarter. So Miss Beatles did not hop on. I wanted to give you the numbers for the telework, right? And I'm not going to give you the exact be able to give you the exact numbers. Miss Antone, I see that you're still on there. I know that the majority of our teachers who will be teleworking, who are actually approved to telework, are actually 6th grade.
Yes, yes. So you wanted to know like the number? Yes.
Yeah, just the teachers.
Okay. So I know for 6th grade, we have between 5 teachers who have been approved for telework in 6th grade.
Yeah. Miss Allen, I don't know if I see you're maybe still on here. Is how many in 7th grade?
Actually, in 7th grade, we only have one pending.
Okay.
We believe it will be approved, but yeah, right now it's just one pending.
Right. And then in 8th grade, so I have Miss Antonia, Miss Allen, and Miss Beatles has those numbers. I do not know the 8th grade, not unless maybe Miss Antonia or Miss Allen, if either of you do the exact number.
Oh, not sure of 8th grade, but I don't think it was very many.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the exact number.
I'm thinking 2, but I don't know for sure. And then connections.
I think we had about 2 in connections so far.
Yeah, 2 in connections. And I'm just going to really quickly, just because I have this information maybe in one other place that I can share with you.
Yeah, I do know sixth grade has the largest, the highest number approved and the highest number of kids coming back.
Right. We also have a couple of paras that will be teleworking. We have one special education teacher who will be teleworking. We know that. So all in all, I mean, I think we have about, you know, a dozen that will be teleworking. And so that has given us some challenges, but as you can see, especially in sixth grade, because we have the largest number of students in sixth grade coming, and we have the teachers who were approved for teleworking. And so Miss Beatles, they're really working on making sure that we have the 6 feet apart, the desks, and that we don't have that many students in each classroom. And we feel like, in eighth grade, it will be about 8 students. In seventh grade, 8 students per class. And seventh grade, about 6 students per class, which is really, really good. But right now with sixth grade, it's looking like 12 or 13. And so, you know, right now we are, you know, looking at that, and we're actually even maybe moving a para, and actually we have just got okay for 3 permanent substitutes. So there might be a substitute.
As we move forward to Q4, will they require?
That's just watching those classes. So hopefully we'll have those exact numbers. Angie, go ahead.
Okay, as we move to Q4, do you know if APS will require students when they come back to have the vaccination once it's offered?
I don't have any idea with the students. I don't. Miss or Dr. Herring just emailed us today about the vaccinations, that we are 1B and that we need to sign up through Fulton County. And so we're just getting that information today and working on that for staff.
So Dr. Maxwell, would we then get vaccinated at our school site?
I don't think so. I think it's through the health. And I guess Coach Abernathy misspoke. Like, you all got, when I read that, it didn't say, I think it even said, like, it's not going to be administered through the school site. You got to work through Fulton County.
So a lot of us don't live in Fulton. That's what I was wondering. Like, I live in Cab, so.
Hey, Kevin, this is Chandra. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
I don't know exactly. Oh, right.
Dr. Maxwell, hold on, Miss Gibson's talking.
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that I think what Dr. Herring sent out today was just kind of like general information about like the status of the vaccine. Nothing, it's not like super specific to APS. And at a board meeting earlier, it came up. And so as it stands, like across the state, plan is primarily to work through the local health departments for vaccine administration, because right now I think they have the capacity for the appropriate storage for the vaccines. So each county health department has a mechanism that they are using for sign up. So you don't have to, staff, I don't think has to go through the Fulton County Board of Health. I think she just shared that link because APS is within Fulton County. And they said that they are looking at some partnerships, but right now, you know, they are, I don't use the word constrained, but we're having to just go by the way the state Department of Health has done the rollout thus far. So they just haven't released that to other people at the time. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thanks, Ms. Gibson. That helps.
And Ms. Baker, I haven't independently verified this, but my neighbor who works for the CDC, he said that you could be eligible for vaccine through your county of employment or your county of residence. So you should research that. You may be eligible for either one, DeKalb or Fulton.
That's good. Any other questions with the reopening model? The next
Go
item.
with the principal's report.
Yeah, the next item is projected enrollment. We're at right now at 1,189 for next year, which is a little bit under what I thought we're going to be over 1,200 for the projected enrollment. And so I just wanted to give that to you now. Like, I'll know more information on January 21st with the budget, and I'll even look at like the different grade levels. But right now, that is our projected enrollment.
Did you say less than 12,000?
I said less than 1,200. I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more than 1,200, but it's actually 1,000. It's 1,189 students. That's a projected enrollment for 21-22. Okay. And so the cluster advisory team meeting, Ms. Schultz, I know she was going to share what we talked about.
Yes, I know you guys have been on pins and needles about this. So I'm going to go ahead and send the in the chat the minutes, just because there is a survey in there that we took, a poll, if you guys wanted to see the results. And then the full minutes, if you just want more information, are in what I just sent as well. So we talked about the cluster plan, the Grady cluster plan. Have we, Dr. Maxwell, have we officially moved over to being the Midtown cluster? Do you know, or are we still saying Grady cluster?
I believe that's the start of next school year.
Next school year, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So we went over the Grady cluster plan. And we also talked about, and Dr. Maxwell will fill you guys in on this part, just the Inman facility. Obviously that is a hot topic, but that was put on pause just due to the pandemic. So what we were talking about in the cluster advisory team meeting was looking at our Grady strategic plan. And so part of doing that was looking for, talking about our strengths, talking about opportunities for improvement from the 2015 to 2020 cluster plan, because this cluster plan that we are coming up is going to be 2020 to 2025. So what I thought was interesting was the Zoom poll results. So they went through 4 of the strategic priorities, and we all voted on if we think that kind of like the subsets in there, and you'll see if you pull it up, are not a priority, low priority, medium priority, or high priority. So the strategic priority was number 1 was fostering academic excellence for all. The second one was building a culture of student support. Strategic priority 3 was equipping and empowering leaders and staff. And then strategic priority 4 was creating a system of support for schools. So if you guys pull up the minutes, you'll kind of see what direction folks were voting. I think it was pretty clear across the board that we think it's important that we share and implement best practices from schools that are closing the racial and socioeconomic achievement gaps. Everyone agreed on that. And you'll see the results were kind of scattered with some of the other sub questions from there. But a lot of the conversation that was fostered in the CAT meeting was around what I noticed, at least, was around equity. I thought that was really encouraging, that was a large part of the conversation for all of the strategic priorities. But yeah, it was the Zoom polls, and then it was conversation around that. And then Dr. Maxwell, if you wanted to fill everyone in about what they discussed for the Inman facility.
Yeah, I mean, I think with many of the other facilities, they're still they're going to still be on wing with what that's going to look like. Inman, whatever that building will be online 2022, right? The fall of 22, 23. And think about this, is we are getting our budget January 21st of 2020. January, a year from January 21st, Inman would be getting their budget for the fall of 2022. So it's not that far away when you think that, and this is what I'm advocating. Well, I'm advocating for that we need to start making a decision. And I have my personal opinion on whether it should be K-5 or a 4-5 building, and there are pros and cons, but we need to make that decision. But what I'm advocating for is that we should hire a principal. I've seen it in other districts where you hire the principal 6 months or a year before, because that principal can be the face of Inman, and it's all about that enrollment and making sure that parents feel good about the school, about the principal, and that the principal will be making budget decisions 6 months before or January when it starts in August. And so I brought that up, but I think as a go team, if you see your school, the school, a decision on Inman, and I just definitely wanted to bring that up to the go team and to see if they have any questions for Ms. Schultz or about what I just said.
Okay, Dr. Maxwell, you're still real choppy on your connection. Ms. Poe, are we able to
I'm sorry.
have it to where Dr. Maxwell can call in from his phone and talk from his phone, but still be in on his laptop?
Yes, actually, if he wants to call in, he should be able to call in using the contact information. I'm trying to see if I can see it at the top of my screen.
I'm crossing my fingers. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
How am I? Because they might be done with the wireless now. So I just switch it to wireless. So I just wonder how it is.
You're perfect.
Okay. So did you hear at all about what I said about Inman? No?
We heard some of it, but what I think we really wanted to hear you repeat the part about having the principal in place now and what you think the Go team should do.
Yeah, I'm just advocating for the principal to be in place. I have my personal opinion on whether it's a K-5 or 4-5 or what that building looks like. But there's pros and cons. But I just think as a Go team, we need to advocate for this to go on, because I think with the pandemic, there are so many things that central office or all of us in APS that we can work on, because it is just that it's a really tough time. But we are basically a year away from the budget of Inman Elementary or Inman Intermediate for it to be given to someone, to given to a Go team or to a principal. And so I just think that we need to advocate for a decision, and I'm going to advocate for a principal to at least be hired by January, just so that there's a name and that they can start doing a PR campaign, because it's about enrollment, a PR campaign of like, this is a safe school, this is my philosophy, this is what's going to happen. And I just think that's something that we need to start getting behind as far as getting that decision made. And if anybody has any questions about that, or Ms. Schultz, what she said.
Well, Dr. Maxwell, what is the most effective way that the Go team can help advocate for that? mean, could we write a letter? Should we consider maybe a resolution or something that we would vote on at the next meeting, you know, where we would have a specifically worded motion rather than just coming off some, you know, something off the fly? But is there something official that we could do to help with that, to support that position?
You know, and I just wonder if we kind of just go through the, like, you know, obviously I'm not advocating, hey, I want you to email Dr. Herring, but you know, what we could do is, could we write a letter to give it to the next CAT meeting, right? So that Ms. Schultz and I can take it to say, hey, you know, we've talked to our GO team, you know, they've written a letter. They just want to give it to CAT. Like they're concerned, like they want to see like what is next? Like, how's the process going to work? How are we going to decide on whether it's a K-5 or a you know, or a 4 or 5 building? So so yeah, like some letter, maybe where a concern or some questions that we could give to CAT. I mean, I think maybe that's like could be the next step.
Okay.
Hey, this is Chandra again. I don't know. You might be able to, you know, Kevin, if that's a question, you might just be able to reach out to Travis and have him put it on the next CAT agenda and the speaking topic or whatever, and he may be able to get somebody from operations in to talk to you guys about it.
So like somebody like Travis to come to our next GO team meeting?
No, not the next GO team meeting. I'm saying you can just
request that it
be put on the, well, no. You can request for the like status or an update on facility master planning, that to be a agenda item at the next grading
CAT meeting. At the next CAT meeting. Okay. Right. Yeah. I'll definitely talk to Travis about that.
All right, next thing we have on there is the yearbook.
Yeah, I do not have a, I did not get an answer from Miss Jensen about that, but I mean, I think we're working on pictures happening when we come back, when the kids come back in February, that first week of February. But I hope to send out some information about that to the community next week. Okay.
All right, any announcements?
I have a quick question, just for Miss Allen. I know last time you had talked about the STAR scores and maybe how parents can get an email and then they'll be able to access it. And could you put a little write-up or something in next week's RAND report, you know, with, I think just a paragraph with the instructions and the link, because if you describe it for me right now, you know, I'm not going to be able to write down the link, but maybe just, I think that'd be really helpful. A step-by-step, here's how you access your kid's STAR report, because I still don't understand. And you've explained it probably 5 times. So that's why I'm wondering if, you know,
your email and I'll be sending
links would work.
I'll be sending you yours. And yes, I can. I will say it may not be as relevant to send the write-up now because the report only comes right after they've done the test. And so while they could do it now, like sometimes parents are just going to put it off anyways until our next one. So maybe 2-3 weeks before the next one, which will happen late March, then I can get that right up then for sure. I do know it worked. I got a couple of parents who did send me some messages and say that, hey, that worked for me, things like that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other announcements?
Yeah.
All right. My announcements, next meeting is February the 8th at 4:30 p.m. We don't have anyone signed up for public comments. So if there's nothing else to add, can I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Tanisha Poe motioning to adjourn.
And then this is Chelsea Schultz. I second that motion.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Poe, seconded by Ms. Schultz. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?